Warriors, I want to welcome you to this video today where we're going to go over your childhood, the past. We're going into the past and we're going to dive deep into how you created, consciously and unconsciously, the person that you are today. The anxiety, the depression, the mood disorders. Did it manifest from childhood? Did the parents contribute to the way you feel today, the way you think, and how you behave? Could this be possible? I'm going to say yes, because the building blocks of who you are, your identity, your character, began between the ages of 0 and 10. And I'm saying subconscious because so much of it was subconscious, because there were things going on around you that your subconscious mind picked up and then internalized as being true. The truth is that nobody is greater than our authority figures, and we don't know God. We don't know too much about religion or spiritual practices back then, so our parents were God. So whatever they did, whatever they said, whatever they thought, whatever they believed in, you inherited. You took it in as a sponge because your critical factors, your conscious mind was not developed yet. Because this was the case, you carried these. There was no process of what's called maturation. There was no update on your mind, your thinking patterns, your belief systems, your behaviors. And so many people today have not updated these things and therefore act, think, speak just like their parents. So today I'm going to go through these 5 really key parental emotional abuse behaviors that your parent may have moved it onto you. And so maybe, just maybe, these contributed to your current anxiety, and maybe you're trying to fill a need today based around something you didn't get way back when, my friend. So we're going to dive deep into this very important video, okay? First things first is let's get into the first one, actually. First one is rejecting, okay? Rejecting, which means that a refusal to show affection. So many times, kids are egocentric. Egocentric means that they believe the world revolves around them. They crave affection, for God's sake. So when there's a refusal to show that affection, the child starts to internalize these things and say, you know what? I'm just not worthy. It's not so much a behavioral thing. I'm not upset about my behaviors. I'm upset about being on this planet. The child begins to internalize this refusal of affection and thinks that they are not worthy of being on this planet. They are not worthy of this sort of affection. And they carry that with them into adulthood. And they engage in certain behaviors that then mirrors what they did as a child, because they never really looked deeper into this. They never really peeled the onion, so to speak. So rejecting. Ask yourself if rejecting was a part of your upbringing, my friends. The second one is isolating. Ask yourself, was I isolated? This means that your parents divorced each other, or your parents kept you from social interactions with others. A lot of times isolating is due to a parent that's trying to really hold on to the kid, to mirror them as they are, sometimes very narcissistic, okay? So when we talk about these types of emotional behavioral patterns, we're talking about a parent that was then fed information from their parents. So a lot of times we cannot blame the parent for things like rejecting or isolating the child, keeping them away from social interactions, because it's the best that they know. It's the best that they know. It's the information that they know. So if you've grown up hating your parents, blaming your parents for this and that, you know what? We got to look deeper into that and say they were functioning with the information that they had, okay? And we've got to reverse the way we see what happened. The third one is what's called terrorizing. Were you terrorized as a child, which means a certain environment that is fear-based? So beating the child, emotionally not encouraging the child, not being there, beating them down, physically beating them down, creating an environment that is very fearful. When a child comes home and feels like they're in a terrorized environment, a lot of times this becomes ingrained in their subconscious and they feel worthless. Their self-worth goes down. The way they see their potential towards career, relationships, even personal growth goes down. Their belief systems are very, very low. They don't believe in themselves. And when you don't believe in yourselves, the action that you take is very, very tiny and small, which means that the result is also very, very small. So you can see how rejecting, isolating, and terrorizing can crush a child's spirit. And the parent may very well not know another way of being. This is important to understand. We cannot blame the parents again. Although the environment was not a very pleasant one, it was a fearful one, it was a painful one, we cannot blame them. We cannot. The fourth one is what's called ignoring. So ask yourself, did your parents ignore you? Where the caregiver is psychologically unavailable to the child and fails to respond to the child's behavior. Okay, so they ignore you. You show them, hey, mom, dad, look what I did. That's nice. That sort of thing. So you had a lot of this ignoring going on. And so later on in life, you fought to try to get people's attention. If it wasn't from your parents, it was going to be from your coworkers. So this is where perfectionism comes into play. People try to be perfect, try to really prove themselves so that they can gain the attention of others. And a lot of times this backfires because then they feel more worthless because perfectionism is something that is unattainable. You cannot be perfect. But a lot of people shoot for perfectionism on a daily basis, and at the end of the day, feel drained, feel more anxious, and feel more depressed because, again, it's unattainable. But you can see where it started. You can see it started from way back when. And I'm taking this video very, very seriously today because it's a massive point in someone's anxiety disorder, right? So that's why I'm very passionate about this video today because I want us to be able to solve these past challenges and to be able to get to a place where we see our childhood in a more neutral to pleasant way. I'll show you how to do that later on. The fifth one, the final type of parental emotional abuse, comes down to corrupting the child, which means the caregiver's behavior that urges the child to learn false values, that reinforce antisocial or deviant behavioral patterns. Oh my goodness. Criminal acts, substance abuse, aggression. When a child sees this from a parent, they not many times, every time, mimic or mirror a parent's behavior. So if a parent is aggressive, if a parent moves towards substance abuse, if a parent has criminal acts, you know what? That's the right thing to do because that is the template. The template was formed between the ages of 0 and 10 for the person. This is the checklist that was formed for a person's life. This is the buildup of the person's identity. So corrupting the child. Child doesn't know any better. Child acts the way mom and dad act. That's what they believe is real. That's what they believe is the truth. So rejecting, isolating, terrorizing, ignoring, and corrupting, my friends, this is very, very important. And the next step after this is to understand starting behaviors and stopping behaviors. So when you begin to recognize, okay, that I need to stop behaviors first, then begin to start behaviors, now we're getting somewhere. So when you can begin to connect these 5 types of parental emotional abuse to you trying to fulfill a need today and how it contributed to your anxiety, we must understand what behavior must you stop today? What behavior must you start today? Very, very important because everything starts with a decision. Until you make that decision that something must stop because it's no longer serving you and it's also contributing to your anxiety, ask yourself this question. If I continue partaking in these types of behaviors, in 6 months' time, will anything change? Will anything change for the better? If the answer is no, stop the behavior. See through what happens, stop it, and then start a new behavior. But what I want more than anything is for you guys to grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you guys to write down some of these things for me, all right? Because, again, this is about peeling the onion. This is about getting deep into why we do what we do, why we think the way we think based around what happened in our past. And the first thing that I want you guys to write down is make a list of experiences. Make a list of experiences during your childhood that affected you the most. Okay, make a list of experiences during your childhood that affected you the most. Go ahead and make that list as long as you want, whatever comes up. Okay, the second thing that we're going to do is write down how each of these experiences made you feel. How did they make you feel? Okay, third thing we're going to do is write down how did you react to the experiences of your childhood? How did you react? Did you blame yourself? Or did you become angry at yourself or other people? How did you react to those experiences during childhood? Notice how you're peeling the onion now. Notice how you're going deeper into what happened and being able to move past it now, to be able to disassociate from what happened. You are not your childhood. You are not your past. And you have the ability to create any kind of future that you want as long as you get to a better place over what happened. Okay? The fourth thing that we're going to write down is, how do you think these experiences affected your life? How did they affect your life? Write down your deepest insights. How did these experiences affect your life? Because now what we're doing is we're contributing a lot of pain to what happened, pain to the things that were taught to you, pain to these past experiences. And when you can attach enough pain to what happened and understanding that if you continue thinking this way, nothing will change, now we can create something new. We can start new behaviors, my friends. Very, very important. The final step and the most important step is, what do you believe you need to fully accept or express based around what happened in order to move forward past these limiting ways of seeing yourself? Okay, so what is it that you must accept and express to someone? Accept based around what happened, because when you can accept something and when you can express something, you're getting closer to the most important part of it all, to gain the lesson from it, to say, in a way, I'm grateful that it happened because there is some good that can come from my suffering. What good has come from my suffering? Ask yourself that question. And the first instinct is, Dennis, of course there's no good that came from my suffering. I suffered for God's sakes. But take a few moments just to evaluate. For me, for instance, I learned that these types of parental emotional abuses that I went through, such as rejecting, such as terrorizing, such as ignoring, these types of things, led me to a place where I became, in my eyes, I'm becoming the type of father that I can be proud of. I can do my job the way it was meant to be done. If I never experienced these things as a child, I would not know how to be with my own child. You know, a lot of times people think based around how they feel. They feel angry, so they think that way, and then they behave that way. No. I've learned that just because you feel something doesn't mean that you have to think in line with that feeling, and you definitely don't have to act in line with that feeling, my friends. It's an emotional, instinctual response. It's a misinterpretation made by your brain, but you don't have to follow through. You don't have to entertain these thoughts. You don't have to follow through with these behaviors. You don't have to be your parents. You don't have to be your authority figures. In fact, you can pick new ones. I love my dad. I love my mom. But guess what? I don't need to take on their beliefs. I don't need to take on their thoughts or their behaviors anymore. So go through the process of these 5 things that I want you guys to write down, my friends. Go through the 5 ways that you may have been emotionally abused. Gain some clarity starting today. I love you so very much. You are more than anxiety. Make sure to hit the bell below. Get the notifications for all my videos, my friends, and I'll see you very, very soon. Give the video a like and a comment. Thank you.